So once again, selamat pagi Bapak Ibu semuanya. Good morning, everyone. So thank you very much for joining our webinar series 4, presented by English Language Education Program, Faculty of Language and Arts, Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana, Salatiga, Indonesia. So today we have a special guest speaker, Dr. Syed Abdullah Sahroni. So let me introduce him briefly. So Dr. Sahroni has a PhD in Language, Literacy, and Technology Education from Washington State University in Pullman, the USA. And he is currently working as an instructional designer for the Academic Innovation Unit at Western Oregon University in the USA. And currently he is also the managing editor of the electronic journal for English as a second language, or we usually know it as TESL-EJ journal. So in today's session, he will share his practical experiences and ideas on how to publish in peer-reviewed journals, right? So for information, if later on you have questions, please type them in the Q&A box on your screen there, and we will answer your questions after Dr. Sahroni finishes his presentation. All right, so Dr. Sahroni, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so Dr. Sahroni, time is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm so happy and honored to be here with you today at Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And yeah, it's my pleasure to be here today. So today, let me share my slides with you all. Okay, so today we talk about publishing peer-reviewed journals. And but before we start, I would like to ask you to reflect on your experiences publishing your work. So for the purpose of this activity, I have created a Padlet, which you can access through this link. Please go to tinyurl.com/y5yr656u. And yeah, add a comment. Tell us about your experiences. So if you press the plus sign, you can add your comment on the Padlet. We will then revisit this Padlet and talk about your comments. And also, if you would like to access this slideshow while the presentation is in progress, you may also access it through the URL at the bottom of the page, tinyurl.com/yxvzzv95. So with this, let's take 2 minutes for you to load the Padlet and the slideshow. Thank you very much, everyone. All right. Uh, so I'm sure I can see that some of the participants have already commented on the Padlet. That's okay if you were not able to post. We will revisit this Padlet later in the presentation. All right, let's move on. So today we talk about classroom research a little bit. So where to and where not to publish. Getting ready for submission and the results of the submission. And finally, we will conclude our session with questions and answers. All right, so if you have your own research topic and you have already been researching this topic for many years, that's good for you. But if not, research topics are around you. So they are connected to your current teaching and current practices, basically. So if you're looking for a topic and you're wondering what topic is the best topic to work on, so just look around you. We're all educators, and we know teaching and learning is full of unknowns and full of surprises and full of you know, situations and conditions that are not known to us, or they are specific to your case, to your classroom. So just look around, and maybe you can focus on your students' reactions to your teaching and learning resources. Maybe the types of activities that you create for your students, the tasks and activities that you implement in your teaching and learning. So maybe you want to see how your students feel about the teaching resources and materials you create for them. So maybe you want to know how your students learn the materials that you provide them with. So all of these could be a potential topic that your future publication could be on. So some of the questions you could ask yourself could be, am I making the best use of class time? So there's so many ways to lead a class. There's so many materials to have students work on in the class. So am I using my class time the right way? Am I teaching effectively and efficiently? So some of the questions that could make you wonder and come up with your research study. So are there activities in the text that I could change to make them more effective? Maybe I can use computer technologies to make my activities more engaging for students. So are students actually learning from what I'm doing in class? So these are some questions that you can think about. So are there aspects of the study that might be better done outside the classroom, for example, as homework? So you don't have to do everything in the classroom, right? So maybe your students' homework can reveal information that you would like to later write about. And can the topics of the material be changed to make it more stimulating to the students, make it more engaging to the students? What effect might this have on their learning? So, and there are so many questions and so many topics that one can focus on to write about. So if you have your questions and topics in mind, that's totally good and good for you. If not, then there are so many questions and topics around you that can invest you in a project and in a study. Okay, so when you have your questions and topics ready, then conduct a background research, see what others have done. And there are some databases such as Google Scholar or ResearchGate, ERIC, and others, which could help you with learning more about this topic that you have currently developed and the question that is challenging you, basically. So look at articles similar to your topic to see what methodology they used and this could be potentially full of new ideas for you too. And maybe the way they have conducted the research is something that you want to try, or maybe you want to replicate their experiment or their study and see if it's useful in your case. So conduct your background research, basically. And finally, confirm your methodology, decide on what you want to do. So when you read about what others have done, and when you think about your current situation, your topics, your questions, then you could find a way to actually do this study that you want to do. Maybe through a quantitative methodology or a qualitative methodology. So there are many different research methods that you could employ. You can even mix them and create have a mixed methods study. And optimally conduct a pilot study to see if at a small scale your questions, your methods, and your tools are useful or are working actually. And maybe a small scale study or a pilot study would give you more ideas to better conduct the study at a larger scale. So basically do a test. You know, when you have your methods, you have your topics, you have your questions, you have read about your topic, you have conducted your background research. Now maybe conduct a pilot or a small scale study, a test to see how things work. And then if everything's going well, if it looks like your experimental design, for instance, will work out, then ask your colleagues for their cooperation. Maybe they could be a co-researcher, maybe they could be a co-author with you, right? Maybe they could contribute in some way and maybe participate in your study, and so many other ways that colleagues could help. So confirm your methodology, basically, and make sure to obtain permission from your school's ethics committee following their guidelines for the use of human subjects or participants. So yeah, this is a very important step in conducting a research study. You just need to make sure that you secure permission from both participants and the board of the ethics board of your university. Okay. All right, now let's take a look at what you said about your experiences publishing. All right. Okay, can you see my page? If you type in the chat, I would know that if you can see this page. Okay, great. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, let's take a look at what you have said. So waiting and then waiting more, uncertainty. Yes, that happens. Sorry. Interesting. It's an interesting process. Challenging, especially dealing with rejections with detailed explanation. Just give briefly a statement about limited research. Absolutely. You're right. Difficult, very interesting. Okay. Takes time, lack of confidence, no data, no idea. Absolutely. Time consuming, expensive. Okay, we definitely need to talk about the expenses that one needs to endure, which it's known actually. So we're going to talk about it when we talk about predatory journals. So it's an exciting process. Yes, absolutely, could be. It's fearsome, it's difficult. Yes, lack of any ideas, time consuming, right? Yes, writer block. So yeah, as you can see, there are mixed views about this process. Some of us have had a pleasant experience publishing, and some, like me, for instance, not that much. Sometimes the process gets tiring, gets very challenging. So So in the remainder of this presentation, we will take a look at, we will cover, I believe, some of these topics. And if some of the topics are left unanswered, please feel free to ask them and we will address them in time. Okay, thank you very much for your participation in this Padlet. Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, so before we move on, before we get into the publication process, we need to decide where we want to publish our work. So what is our target publication? Is it a journal? You know, is it a magazine? Is it a brief, research brief? You know, is it a podcast? So we need to decide on that. So there are many ways or media that you can use to share your work with the field. And each has its own set of principles and, you know, requirements, basically. So first, you need to decide on a target publication. So, and like names, where I'm going to publish, is it a local, is it an international publication? So we need to decide on that. So we're going to talk about it more later. So if you're thinking of an international publication, then your research should have implications for those in other international educational settings, right? So if you're targeting an international journal or a journal with an international readership, then you should make sure that your study has implications for use in international educational settings. So that's very important. So read some articles in the target journal so that you understand their format and target audience, right? So if you read their mission statement, if you read their scope and aims, you would certainly have an idea of what this specific journal is interested in. And another way to learn about it more is to take a look at some of the articles they have published. And that would give you also an idea what this specific publication is interested in, and if your article is a good fit, basically. And read the submission criteria for the journal. This is very important, and we will deal with this later. So all journals have detailed instructions for submissions. So make sure that you take a look at those very carefully. Okay. And finally, check their estimated turnaround time. So turnaround time is the time that you will wait until you hear back from the journal. So check their estimated turnaround time. Maybe it's not a good fit just based on this one criterion, right? A journal which takes about 1 year to get back to you. So maybe not a good fit for me at this specific moment. Maybe if I have a lot of other publications in the pipeline, I could wait a year while I'm also getting published in other journals. But if this is the only work that I have currently in progress, I prefer for it to be published as soon as possible. All right. So where not to submit? This is very important. You need to be careful. You're not publishing your work or submitting your work to a predatory journal. And predatory journals are basically journals which seem to be journals, but they are there for taking advantage. So they charge you. You shouldn't pay money to get published, basically. So you're sharing your intellectual property with a journal, and that's invaluable. You can't place a value on it. So you shouldn't pay to a journal to publish your work. So if you see a journal is asking for money, then that's a red flag for you to know this is a journal which wants to take advantage of me, and I'm not going to be publishing my work in there. So little reviewer helps to improve the paper. So this is another issue. So peer-reviewed journal, as the name suggests, it's about peers. It's about people like you. So you're going to be receiving comments from peers, which means that you're learning and you can improve your paper based on the comments that you receive. So a predatory journal is a journal which doesn't give you feedback that much. They will tell you, pay us as much as we want, and then we have no comment for you. And this is not right. Okay. So another thing is about fast turnaround time. This is another red flag. So peer-reviewed journals take some time to publish your work because it's peers reviewing your work, right? So it takes some time for them to read, comment, and get back to you. And then you maybe address their comments and then resubmit. And then they read it again and see if you have met the requirements or you have addressed the comments. And then, check or approve of your publication. So it takes time. So if a journal is saying, I'm going to publish your work as like in a week or in a month, so that's probably a predatory journal. And also publishing in these journals is damaging for your reputation. So be sure to recognize them and be sure not to submit your works to these journals. And it's easy to also find out, recognize them based on some, criteria. This URL here at the bottom can take you to a page which shares with you some criteria, some more criteria that you could use in your investigation to see which journal is a good journal and which is not. Also, the list at the bottom of the page, Beale's list of predatory journals, is a list which is continually being updated, and you can take a look at it and see and look for the journals that you want to submit to and see if they're there. So it's also a very good resource that you can check out. Okay, so with this, let's get ready for submission. You have decided on a topic, you have conducted your study, and you are ready to submit your manuscript to a journal. You have also decided on a good journal, a fit journal. Okay, first thing you need to do is follow the submission guidelines exactly. Okay, and when I say exactly, I mean you need to study it basically, because journals have detailed instructions for contributors, and you want to make sure that you go through them very precisely and exactly. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. It's okay, right? So if something's vague, you need more clarity, you need more clarifications, feel free to write the submissions editor of that journal or the managing editor of that journal. So for instance, my post at TESL-EJ is being the point of contact between authors, reviewers, and I receive questions from potential contributors all the time asking about the process, and I do my best to reply. So feel free to ask, it's okay. So just read the submission guidelines exactly. And then if you have any questions, feel free to contact the managing editor of the journal, submissions editor of the journal, or the editor themselves, basically. And as you can see in this screenshot that I have shared, for instance, TESL-EJ, the journal that I serve, has a section on how to submit. And as you can see, there are all sorts of guides on the submission procedures, ethical standards, style sheets for authors, tips for authors, policies on book reviews, media reviews, and also APA style guide. So feel free to, so any journal that you decide on has a section like this. Make sure you just study those guidelines very carefully before you submit your work. Okay. Also, just know what system of review the journal is advocating or using. So we have two types of review processes, open and blind reviews. So in an open review system, both authors and reviewers know who has submitted the work, who is reviewing the work. So it's open. So it means that you know the identity of your reviewers, and they also know you. There will be communications between you. You can address them by their names. You know their institution, their affiliation, you know everything about them, and they also know everything about you. So this is called the open peer review system. Not many journals use this system. Most of the peer review journals usually advocate a blind review system, which means that reviewers must not be able to identify who you are. That's why all mentions of your name and references to your papers must be hidden, right? You just say author 2014 to refer to yourself, right? And also you won't know who is reviewing your work. It's totally anonymous. That's why they call it blind review, or sometimes they call it double blind review process, which means you don't know, they don't know. It's totally, this information is confidential. Nobody would know. So it's very important actually to, if you submit your work to a blind review journal, to make sure that all mentions of your name and identity are hidden. So for instance, you may remove your name from your paper and by calling yourself author 2014, 2012, based on your publication. But you should also be careful that your word processing software will automatically register some identifying information into the file that you're submitting to the journal. So you need to be careful to remove those pieces of information so that you don't get a rejection in the first step. So as you can see, for instance, on the left, I have a screenshot of a Mac operating system, which shows you how to locate the summary of your file. And as you can see, it says author SAS, and the company is Singapore American School, for instance. So this is identifying information which needs to be removed from the file before you submit your work to a journal. So, and also on the right, I have the same window, the same Windows related settings which you need to tweak to remove your information. So basically it's file, so properties, summary on a Mac, and in Windows it's just file, info, advanced properties, and you'll get to check the file information that you need to remove. So okay, I'm sharing a part of our review roster and telling you, so as you can see, the rows in red have been rejected, and 80% of these rejections have been because of the manuscript not either being fully blind, which means there was information about the authors either in the file, in the text, in the narrative, or in the file properties. So those parts that you can see which say reject without review, or sometimes we call them a desk reject, which means an immediate reject, mean that either the article was not blind or there were some missing components, basically. So like the article doesn't have a methodology section, the results section. Something is missing from the article. So these receive a desk or immediate reject, which means that the moment they arrive at the editor's desk, they get rejected. But having said that, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to resubmit your work. Usually the editor provides you with feedback on why the work is rejected, and then you can fully blind your work or add those missing components and then resubmit your work. But we don't want this, right? So the turnaround time is usually very long. You don't want to get a reject after a long time of waiting for the results, and just know that a little change could have saved the article from being rejected. Something like a blind review, it's not efficient, right? You just gotta be very careful, follow the submissions procedures, and make sure the article is fully blind and has every component in it, so that it just passes from the desk to the reviews, to the reviewers, to the peers, and then you receive comments. Okay, this is, yes, our rejection rates since January 2019. About 66% of the articles submitted were rejected, and 80% of which were because of obvious deficiencies, which included blind reviews and missing components. Okay, so you've decided on your journal. You have studied their submissions, procedures, and everything you needed to know about the journal, including the review process. And now you're ready to write up your manuscript. Okay. And as you can see here, also journals provide detailed information on the write-up of your paper. So the format which the journal uses, which could be different across journals, right? So you need to make sure that you study the format very precisely also. In the screenshot that I have provided, you can see that our journal has a style sheet for authors and tips for authors that you would be studying and using that information to help you write up your manuscript. It tells you about major sections like introduction, methodology, results, discussions. It tells you about the style of headings, for instance. So where should I italicize? Where should I bold my text? Where should I keep the style normal? Where should I make indentations? How about bullets, for instance? Where do footnotes go? Endnotes go? How long should my article be, right? So all of these pieces should be taken a look at and considered before and while you're writing your manuscript. So for instance, this document is our style sheet. It's about 8 pages long. It has all all the information that an author needs to know about the format of the report, the research report. So you have done your research, you have your data, you have found answers to questions that were challenging you at the beginning of your research journey. And now you're ready to write your manuscript and share it with the field. So you need to make sure that you follow the style, the publication style of the journal. Okay? And be in style. So basically the journals follow different publication styles. For example, TESL-EJ follows APA. Most of the journals actually in the field of second language teaching and learning, foreign language teaching and learning follow APA. So Microsoft Word, for instance, has a section on references and style, which could help you make your life much easier, managing your sources, managing your bibliography, inserting citations. So it's a very useful tool if you want to ensure that you have less to do, right? You can read the APA manual, the book, and it's a long book, right? And it's easy also to forget things. So a tool like Microsoft Word will allow you to, uh, you know, to sort your sources, stylize them based on APA very easily. Another tool that you can use is Google Scholar, right? Did you know that? So if you look for articles, which you will during your research, there is a quotation mark under each entry that you will find, which if you click it, then it will present you with a list of different publication styles. MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, Vancouver, depends on the, the publication that you're targeting. So when you do your research to know about their style, you would be able to use information from Google Scholar very easily too. But be careful. Sometimes, you know, Google Scholar will provide you with, you know, incomplete, you know, reference entries. So be careful. Just take a look at them. Just know how the whole system works. It's always good to know. And my next actually slide shows you another very good resource that you can always check. It's Purdue Online Writing Lab, or OWL, which is a great resource for researchers to know about their style. Detailed information on how a citation is, you know, crafted, a reference entry is crafted. All the pieces of a manuscript are crafted based on a specific style sheet. So yeah, these are resources that you could resort to when writing your paper, your manuscript. Okay. And finally, let's take a look at the process. As you can see, the process involves you to submit your work. So, right, when you have, when your writing is finished and you have a manuscript ready, then you submit. You just go to the website, you register for an account, you just follow the instructions also, and submit your work. Okay, and you need to wait some time, for some time, based on, so journals are different in that, for instance, TESL-EJ reserves about a month for an internal round of review, which means the editors will take a look at the work, and if everything's okay, so then we'll also reserve another month for an external round of review, which means that we send the work to at least two reviewers to read the work and comment on it. So it's, if everything goes well, it's 2 months and you will receive the results. But sometimes this doesn't work as smoothly as this. Sometimes reviewers you know, cannot meet the deadlines. Sometimes other priorities arise and a reviewer decides, cancels the review, and we need to find another reviewer. So sometimes it takes longer than this, and sometimes it takes shorter than this. But generally, this is, so 2 months is the process takes for the submission to get to a decision, and at TESL-EJ. So journals are different. I've had journals I've submitted to which have you know, taken me about 6 months to receive an initial review, and I've had also experiences in the past, you know, waiting for a year to receive a decision. So when you get the results, then the results decide how the process will proceed from then on. If it's an unfortunate reject, then the process stops, which is rarely happening in my experience. Usually you receive a revise and resubmit, which means we are interested in your work. We need you to take heed of these issues and fix these issues and resubmit your work for further review. And that entails you to rewrite your work based on the reviewer feedback. and resubmit. And then the process starts over. So you again reserve a month for a reviewer, for the same reviewers or other reviewers to read your work and then provide you with comment. So yeah, it's a process. Starts with your submission. You need to wait, you get the results, and usually you have to make some changes because it's the peer review system, right? We're here to learn and grow and share our work in the process too. So we're learning, and there are other peers in the field we don't know. They're going to read our work and place comments on it for us. And we learn and grow through this process. And at the same time, we're ready to make changes, make our work better. Okay, so, and that's about the process. And if it's a success, so you have a publication, you usually receive off prints, which means your specific article or your contribution to the journal. Usually issues are published in collections, like a volume, so has multiple issues. So, and each issue has a collection of articles. So off prints are the individual articles that some journals will send you. And you can put it on your CV and website and be proud of yourself more than you are now. And but if it is rejected, so no worries, nothing happens. So you heed the reviewer's comments. You just consider reviewers' comments. Okay, rewrite your work based on the comments. Okay, those comments which make sense to you. Of course, sometimes the comments maybe do not make sense. So yeah, rewrite based on the comments which make sense to you. And sometimes you need to redesign your work. Maybe there were some structural issues and deficiencies with the article, and you received this feedback from your peers in the field telling you, hey, one data source, for instance, is not enough for conclusive evidence, if there is any. There is no conclusive evidence, of course. But how about increasing your data sources, for instance, to 2 data sources, to 3 data sources for better triangulation of data, to see different aspects of this topic. And then in that case, you will say, yeah, this makes sense. Let me redesign my work. And that gives you a higher chance of being accepted next time you submit, right? Or sometimes you just think, you rethink the journal target, the target journal. You just believe that maybe this journal was not the right fit. Maybe there is a different journal that if I submit the work at its current form, they will publish it for me. I don't have to make all these changes. It seems that the reviewers did not understand what I had in mind, or it seems that this specific publication has different requirements that I do not want to meet. So maybe I need to rethink the target journal, and maybe think about publishing it locally, right? Maybe one of the comments you received was, this work does not have any implications for an international readership, right? Either add parts to it which make it broader in scope, or if it's true and it makes sense to you, how about looking for a local outlet, a local publication opportunity, such as a school publication or a local academic society, right? So if you get a reject, no worries, everything's good. We're still here, everything's fine, and everybody has received rejections. I've received a lot of rejections. Calvin himself has received rejections, although he has lots of publications. And all of the researchers receive rejection. So, but you don't get upset. That's what I'm saying. Just work on it take the comments, look at them, see if you can make changes, and then rewrite your work or redesign your experiment, your study, and find another publication venue and submit your work there. So it will, so if it's not published, it doesn't mean it's not a good study. It's a good study. It just means that you need to find, it needs to find its home, basically. It just means that it hasn't found its home. Okay. All right, thank you very much. I think I've reached the end of my presentation. With this, I just want to acknowledge the generous supports I have received from my dear friend, Tom, who is also the editor of TESL-EJ, who has helped with this presentation in very impactful ways. And yes, I appreciate Tom's support. Although I appreciate Calvin, or Justinas Calvin Guy Mali, my dear friend, who is a PhD candidate at Washington State University, with all the supports that they have given me. And I also thank you all for your patience, for your time. I'm so happy to be here with you today. All right, if there is any questions or answers, I'll be more than happy to address.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sahroni, for your presentation. All right. We have some questions from the audience, Dr. Syed. So the first question is from Unica. So basically she's asking about like our English writing sometimes is not that natural or is not that academic to some extent. So how can we improve our writing then so that we can get, you know, our article published in a good journal?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. Well, yeah, most of the times all your work can't be accessed because of the writing quality of your work, right? So if you write our paper or our manuscript, so we just want to make sure we write grammatically, we write appropriately, we follow the discourse of the field, and this can be found in research publications. There are books, there are resources, there are articles on writing different parts of an academic publication, how to write the method section of my study, how to write my conclusion part of my study. So there are lots of resources, both published in books and printed materials, which one can get. There are lots of publications and books one can get access to. And there are so much information online that one could consult when reading the piece. And also, another thing which could help is the feedback from a critical peer. So it's always good to have a peer, a friend, a colleague who will read our work before we submit it to a journal, right? I have a friend who does that for me, and when they want to submit their work to journals, I also do the same. So these collaborations will give us a higher chance of writing properly and in an accessible manner, so that it's not rejected based on the writing quality. And another thing to add to it is that there are also professional services which one could ask for.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Sahroni. And we have another question from
Absolutely.
Aisha. So basically, we lack of research data. So how can we get sources or like find subjects to be researched or studied?
Yes, absolutely. This is a very good question. Well, usually it's the case that the topic that we are interested in is a topic that has interested other researchers and colleagues in the field. So the chances are high that we're not the first person working on this topic. So there is, if we consult databases, usually Google Scholar is a great database, and look with similar keywords, we will probably find similar topics, similar articles on the topic that we're interested in. And this is a way. If the resources cannot be obtained, it's a matter of logistics, such as our library does not have a subscription to this specific journal. So be a part of a research community, like for instance, ResearchGate. So ResearchGate puts you in touch with lots of researchers around the world, and you can contact them. So I'm interested in this specific research, so I can contact the author of this article and ask them to send me a copy. And they are generous with their work, they will send you a copy. Or find an email address, email the researcher, and they will share their work with you. I have personally received lots of support from researchers. I could not have access to their work. They have even mailed their work, to me, while when there was no ResearchGate. So they have even, I have received support, this type of support from faculties, researchers in the past too. So just reach out to the person. They will be generous, and they will most likely provide you with a copy of their work.
Okay. Dr. Sahroni, in line with your answer, actually in the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that we can actually start from researching like small things, like what is going on in our classroom, right? Can you talk a little bit about that actually, to answer Aisha?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Well, so we are educators, right? And we do research. Sometimes there's a distinction made between being a researcher and an educator, but I just want to say they are connected, they are related, they are interrelated. So how can a teacher, for instance, score a student if they don't research their progress? So we're always engaged in researching our students' abilities, skills, and we take notes on their progress, and we're ready to intervene sometimes. So this is what we do as educators all the time in our classes. So, and by saying that we need to start from little things in our surroundings, I meant a lot is happening around us. A lot is happening in our classes, and we're already engaged in this process. So just knowing more about how more systematic we could be in our investigation by consulting research articles, research methodology books, we could be more empowered to conduct our research and even make our teaching better. So there is this type of research called action research, and I think our audience is familiar with the term. Action research is basically you taking action at what you see. So you enter the classroom, you notice that everybody's quiet, for instance, today. So you just need to conduct some research to find out what's going on in this class. You just take action while you're engaged in the process of teaching. So yes, I think if you look around, if we be more focused on what we do, we will realize that we're already engaged in research, and we can learn more about conducting research to make our teaching and learning practices even more effective.
Okay, so our class is actually already like a factory of research ideas, right, that we can explore.
Absolutely,
later.
yes.
Okay. Dr. Saroni, we have another question from Maya.
Absolutely.
Yes, she's asking about this. To what extent publishing in non-reputable journal or in predatory journal affects our academic career?
Oh, yeah, this is a very good question. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we don't know. I mean, if you don't have a clue, if you don't know what's going on, and you end up being advised by other colleagues, for instance, that this publication is good, it has a fast turnaround time, submit it, we just pay some money and we get published. Sometimes we don't know, we think that's the process, that's how it works. That's totally fine. It doesn't, when I said it affects and destroys your reputation, I didn't mean that it does it, I mean, you know, one publication would do that for you. I just meant it shouldn't be something we do on a regular basis, because reputable, credible publications do not ask for money. They don't ask for you to pay a fee. Sometimes they don't even ask, they tell you, we need to see, you know, we need to see your work, and then we'll tell you how much money you have to pay us. They don't even have, if you look at their websites, you will notice that there is no mention of publication fees, which is what we are talking about. These are red flags. So my answer to this esteemed audience participant is that no worries if you have published your work with a predatory journal. So from now on, make sure you don't. And whenever you want to submit your work, research your publication, your target publication first. Make sure you're submitting to the right venue or to the right publication outlet.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sahroni.
Absolutely.
And actually, we have like some participants who raised their hand. Perhaps we can just like allow them to ask questions directly to you, Dr. Sahroni.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have Fendi Siregar here. Just let me allow her to talk. Oh. Perhaps from Haryudin Nizar. I think you can talk now. Okay.
Apply pressure.
Okay, yeah, Haryudin Nizar, we can hear your voice.
Yes, I can hear your voice.
Okay.
Apply pressure.
Okay, Haryudi, could you please, say your question?
Yeah, wait, those.
Okay, no questions.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I listen explanation from the about the research.
Prevention.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay, no question. Okay. So we have Rizky Akbarani. Do you want to say something? Ask questions to Dr. Sahroni? Okay, Rizky. Okay, you don't have questions? Okay, let's try another Nurlaili. Okay.
Okay, hello.
Yeah, hello. We can hear your voice.
Okay, I want to ask you about paper about rejection. Like previously, for example, my paper is rejected by the publisher. Do you think
Yes.
I should resubmit my paper to the journal, or I should find another publisher? Because to be honest, when we talk about predatory journal, it's kind of difficult to identify whether it's a really, I mean, like it's a reputed journal, or it's a predatory journal. So do you think that I should find another publisher, or I should resubmit to the same journal that have reject my paper before? Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for your question. Well, whether you submit your work to the same journal, it depends on, I believe, the comments that you have received. So if the comments are, if it's a hard reject, if it's a reject, which means don't submit here, there are problems with this manuscript, we're not interested in it, then you can't resubmit to the same journal. But if the decision is revise and resubmit, for example, it's a reject, but it's not a hard reject, it's a soft reject, which means we're interested in your work, but there are some issues that you need to address before we can publish your work. If you have received this type of reject, so they're telling you that they're interested in your work, but you only need to address those comments which the peer reviewers have placed on your work. But if the question is whether this journal is a credible journal, I believe you need to conduct an evaluation, a study to see if any of these red flags, you can find any of these red flags on the journal homepage. Are they telling you, are they providing you with little or no peer review feedback? If they're asking you for money, if their turnaround time is very very short, for example, if there is no mention of publication fees on their journal. So these are red flags that you could investigate before just submitting or resubmitting your work to that same publication. So I believe you just need to conduct a study on the journal first to see if this specific publication is a credible publication outlet or a predatory journal publication.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sarni, for the answer, and Nurlaili for your question.
Absolutely.
Dr. Saroni, we have another question. So, what should we do if we do not agree with the reviewer's suggestions?
This is a very good question. Well, you just try to convince them. That's easy to do. So when you revise your work, so suppose they have provided you with some comments that you don't agree with. So write back and say, I hear you, I read your comments, but I respectfully disagree because blah, 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 blah. Just have your arguments ready. And it works. I mean, there are peers. We shouldn't be, we're peers. We're right now, like you and I and all the audience that we have here today are peers. We just listen to each other. We communicate with each other. If we don't agree with each other, we just express our disagreement and express our opinion as well, and hear people's voices as well. So it's the same thing. If you have received a reject decision, you can write back and say, I hear you, but I respectfully disagree because, and provide your reasons, and the editor will get back to you. And yeah, I've done that many times myself. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sahroni. So that was a question from the Widya Stuti, and
Absolutely.
And we have a question from Marta Nandari. So, how can we avoid enclosing our identity when the setting of our research is at the author's own institution or class?
Okay, this is a very good question. So you just need to hide that information, that piece of information. So for instance, instead of saying Universitas, you know, or I mean,
Kristen?
your university.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, for instance, Washington State University. I would replace it with some institution. So some institute in the US, for example, or even not in the US, I just delete that. So when it's about me as an author, I would say author, for instance, 2014. So if it's about an institute, the name of an institute, I just type some institute. That's how I cover or hide the information that could, you know, the reason that we conduct blind reviews is making sure that bias doesn't come into play. So the reviewers read the work, you know, very impartially, basically. That's one of the reasons that we conduct peer reviews. So so for instance, if I know there might be a conflict of interest, basically, right? For example, I came to Malaysia, Indonesia, something happened to me. I'm so happy with Indonesia based on my experience of attending this lecture today, this webinar today. I'm so happy. I've been so honored with this webinar, and this has a deep effect on me. From now on, I will approve any study that I receive from Indonesian scholars. You know, that's human beings, right? That's human condition. So one of the ways that we conduct blind peer reviews is one of the hopes is reducing bias. So you just need to make sure that identifying information is hidden. References to places are also hidden, so that bias doesn't play a role in the decision that you will receive.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.
And
okay.
Yes,
yeah,
and finally, anytime you have a question, write the editors of the journal. So if you're not sure how to, hide this specific piece of information, feel free to reach out to the editor and say, hey, I have this piece of information that I'm not sure if I need to blind. And if I want to blind, how can I do that? I don't know how to do this. And then they will provide you with information. They tell you, here's the way to do it. And they will help you, basically.
Okay. So Dr. Sahroni, in our question and answer box, there's a keyword there, emerging keyword.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I would like to ask you, are you familiar with the term Scopus indexed journal?
Yes, actually.
So can you say a little bit about that? Because our audience is asking, when we send our journals there in Scopus index journals, usually we need to pay very expensive amount of money. So they are asking, is it possible to publish our journal in that Scopus index, but for free? Dr.
Yes,
Saya?
absolutely.
Dr. Sahroni, sorry. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very good question. So a Scopus is an index, right? An index of high quality publication. So there are others too. There are, emerging sources. There are so many, other indexing agencies which evaluate publications and give them a badge, basically. A Scopus indexed means that this specific publication has passed the requirements, quality requirements of Scopus. TESL-EJ, for instance, is a Scopus index journal, which you don't need to pay any money to publish in. So the fact that a publication is a Scopus index does not mean that they require money. It's another issue about, credible publication, outlets and predatory, publication outlets. So if a journal is Scopus indexed, ISI indexed, and other sorts of, indexing, they will brand, they will tell you that they have been awarded. It doesn't mean that you have to pay. So yes, there are many journals that do not ask for money. And as I said, you're sharing your intellectual property with a publication. And they are going to share it with the community, with the research community, with the practice community. So, and some journals are open access journals like TESL-EJ. The articles are free for you to access. The publication process, so you don't pay, to publish or download articles from TESL-EJ, for instance. But some other journals, they don't charge you, but they will charge people or institutions to access their content. So there, so what I'm saying is the authors do not pay. They shouldn't pay, and that's the most important thing. If a journal is charging you, just disregard it. It's not a good journal. Don't go after it. They should be happy and very appreciative of your contribution to their content, basically.
Okay, so the answer is yes, it is possible for us to publish
Yes.
our article in a free Scopus index journal.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes. And other indexing, agencies, affiliated journals. So, yes, it's the norm. This is the way. This is how it is and how it should be. But predatory journals are all over the place. You just need to be very cautious. You don't fall into their traps.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Saroni. We have another question from Maya Devianti.
Of course.
So what is quality article? Is it determined by ideas or whether or not the article is well written, Dr. Saya?
Calvin, what is the question again? What is the...
what is quality article?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is it determined by ideas or whether or not the article is well written? Can you say something about that?
I should say, I say maybe a little bit of both. So quality articles means that the topic basically is relevant, is important, is very good to know about more. It is important in teaching and learning, for instance. And at the same time, it's been written in a quality manner. So the author, the text is accessible, people can read it, understand it, the readers of the journal can understand it. It's not difficult to understand, and it's been, doing a good job in researching the topic, coming up with the answers and conclusions, and then also the write-up to share that research with the field. So that's usually what we, in the publication, industry, they refer to as quality papers or quality articles. So it's a little bit of both. But with that, I want to say that the topic, okay, should be of interest and of immediate use to you as the author, as the researcher, as the educator. If somebody tells you this is not a good topic, so this is not okay. This is not how it should be. All topics are worth attention. It depends on your positionality, where you're from, where you're working, where you know, who the audience is that you're targeting. So it depends on your context, basically. It depends on you. So all topics are good, but the methodology of conducting a research study could be, for instance, critiqued on how well the author has been, the researcher has been, you know, observing methodological issues in conducting the study. So that could be critiqued, and you know, the methodology of a study could be basically critiqued. Also, the write-up could be critiqued, and but generally the topics are good and worth attention. All topics.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sahroni. Perhaps this will be two last questions. Like,
Sure.
first, can you share how you manage your time to do research and publication? Because we know that all teachers, like, they are very busy with their life, right?
Yes.
Teaching,
Absolutely.
grading, and how, yeah. So can you give us suggestions how can we manage
Of course.
our time in your
Of course.
experiences? And just go to the second question. Do you have like suggestions for novice researchers who plan to start their publication journey, Dr. Sahroni?
Okay. Sure. Yes, absolutely. So as to your first question, we're not researchers 24/7. I'm not a researcher 24/7. I have my life, my hobbies, my, you know, my life too. So as long as you have a plan, so you don't have to be on it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just little by little, right? And that's what I do. I work from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, in the evening. So this is what I do currently. But at the same time, it's all wonderful. I have my research mindset with me. I take notes, and I have my work also. So as an instructional designer, is also very related to what I do. I've I'm always challenged with lots of ideas in my work, so which I take notes of and go back to later. So as long as you have a plan, you have everything. You have a plan for everything. Basically, you have your, you know, a balance of life and work. So you should be able to, you know, balance things out and be able to research and publish. So I haven't published a lot. I've had my share of publications, but you know, just, you know, some publications. But yeah, so because, you know, you should just know how the life-work balance should be observed. So you need your weekends to recover from the week load of work that you have done. And at the same time, you know, as long as you keep your contact with your research interest, so in time, you'll be able to write your articles, research, and also enjoy your life hobbies. And yeah.
So Dr. Sahroni, I highlight two keywords: little by little and planning your time. Okay.
Very good. Yes, planning and just doing things little by little. Yeah,
Okay.
It's not a race. It's yeah, it's not a race. We're here to enjoy our life, enjoy ourselves, and at the same time, you know, do research which we also enjoy. You know, it's all an enjoyable life, right? We just do our best to honor our interests and work hard to achieve what we want.
Okay.
So thank you very much for this question. The second question was advice to researchers, right?
Novice researchers or new researchers who want to start their publication journey.
Yeah, very good. It's a very good question. Well, so there are books on, you know, conducting research. So I would just say that a novice researcher should just be exposed to research, should read first, right? They should also have their notebooks with them, take notes, take mental notes, and just make sure that they don't skip things that challenge them or makes them wonder. So it's beautiful thing to have a wandering mind, right? Just make sure you just don't skip what comes to your mind. Have your notebook, take notes of things that inspire you, things that challenge you, things that ask you or call for your research, for your action. Just take notes of those, and then read also. Read similar read articles on similar topics or on actually the same topics, and this will enable you to learn a lot, and confirm your methodology, see what you want to do, and you will know, you will see yourself conducting research without you even knowing it. So you will see yourself immersed in a body of research, in a body of information, and you're actually contributing to it. So don't let go of your dreams, don't let go of your ideas. Take them down, take notes of things which inspire you, things which challenge you, and then be in touch with the field. Be part of a research community like ResearchGate, Google Scholar. So, and find and access the resources that you can read, and you will develop and grow with them, and you will see yourself conducting research without you even knowing it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sahroni. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the time now. So we are sorry that we cannot answer all the questions, but later on, if you have downloaded the PowerPoint file from Dr. Sahroni, you can just see the email address of Dr. Sahroni. Perhaps they will send you email, Dr. Sahroni, to ask some questions, clarify your ideas.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Please. I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
just
please,
for
I'll
information,
expect emails.
Yeah, in the last slide, you can also find Dr. Sahroni personal website, where you can see his published articles and journals that hopefully can inspire you to write or conduct similar research. All right, so before you leave, there's an announcement here. Okay. Yeah, so we would like to invite you to our next webinar series 5. So we have Dr. Lauren Zens from the University of Houston. But for information, we will conduct the webinar earlier, 8:30 in the morning. So sorry about that, because of the time difference between the US and Indonesia. But if you're interested in, you can just register yourself there. And then just for information, there is no attendance link or no exit ticket to our to this webinar. So basically, you will just get the certificate after this webinar. And once again, you can download the Dr. Sahroni's presentation file in the chat that I have given you in the, I've given you the link in the chat. Okay, I just type once again. All right, wait. Let me share the link. Okay, so you can download the slide there from the link. Okay. All right, so thank you very much, those who have joined our webinar series. So my name is Justinus Calvin as the moderator for today's session. Thank you very much for your participation, and Dr. Sahroni, thank you very much for your time and for the insights for our audience. So thank you very
Absolutely.
much. Have a
Thank
good
you
day.
very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
And please feel free to reach out. Thanks again. Take care, and yeah, see you soon.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saroni.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.